Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We are here for an exciting subject that is very fitting for this time of the year for sure. We're going to talk about RV air conditioners. And when it's hot, and when it's not, it's not. I'm Steve Anderson with Workamper News, and I'm glad you're with us today. And joining us is the Texas RV professor, Terry Cooper. He loves to be called Cooper, and he is down there in Athens, Texas at the Big Red Schoolhouse, the home of the National RV Training Academy. And he is my business partner as well as my comrade in helping people learn about their RVs and learn how they can take care of them themselves and not be dependent or be worried about having someone come and fix something, even the little stuff to the big stuff when things go wrong. And one thing I can guarantee you about RVing, RVs have problems. They always do. They're a machine and they will have issues. So, Mr. Cooper, I could jabber on about you for a long time, but I'm not going to. I'm going to fade away and let you take it into the sunset. And we will answer some questions as we get to the tail end. So be thinking about your questions, jot them down. And there's a little keyboard. You can type them in if you want to as we go along, but there's a little thing there on your control panel. You can click on that and type in the questions. And we'll address those questions when we get to the end of the presentation. So, Mr. Cooper, with that, I'm going to say, take it away.
All right, thank you, sir. Well, let's just jump in. That's just the way things are sometimes. There's no sense in playing around with this thing. 80% of the things that we're going to deal with these RVs are easy to access and easy to fix. So what we're trying to say, I guess, is that if somebody would just show you how, you can do this yourself. You really can. And I used to be amazed when I worked as a service manager, as people bring units in and I'd put my most inexperienced technician on some of these jobs and he or they would just blow it away, take care of it. And I'm thinking the consumer could have taken care of this if somebody had just shown them how, know what to look for. So let's jump in because air conditioners is such a big thing. As a matter of fact, when we are doing classes here at the National RV Training Academy, after we finish the RV maintenance, which is the overview of the whole RV industry and all the appliances and all of the systems that are in these RVs, the very first course, the advanced course that we take them into is air conditioner, because by far that's the biggest issue that we see time and time again, because so many people are traveling and they're going into destinations that they really need something to keep them cool. So let's jump in. Things that impact this air conditioner performance. And that's why I always tell everybody because when they call me sometimes or we're talking about it, I say, let's do the easy stuff first, because many times it's something so very easy and we're going into the panic mode and we don't need to. The biggest thing that we see is airflow. And when I say airflow is everything, that is no joke. Airflow is everything. Airflow across the coils, airflow coming out the ductwork, just what's blocking it, where's it going, and things like that. And then when you look at it, refrigerant is the last thing. And so I've had people come and say, I need you to come out here and put some more Freon in this thing. And I think, well, what about this? What about, well, it's just not cooling and I know I need some refrigerant. Well, the thing about these RV air conditioners is that they use such a small amount. I mean, we're talking 14, maybe as much as 18 ounces of refrigerant, and that's all. So if there's any sort of crack in the line, you're not going to have any air conditioning because all the refrigerant's leaked out. It doesn't leak out just a little bit, but it leaks out because there's so much pressure and it's blowing out that small hole. So usually the situation about being low on refrigerant means that, hey, we've got a serious problem here. We're probably gonna have to change it out. And we're gonna look at this a little bit more, okay? So let's dive in a little bit deeper. Let's go back to the basics, because sometimes if we understand how something functions, we can walk through this in a logical manner. And that's really what I want to come away with today, that you will sit back and not go into the panic mode, because you can say 80% of the things that go wrong are easy to access and easy to fix. So one of the refrigeration basics, we're dealing with the law of thermodynamics. Heat flows from hot to cold. Heat flows from hot to cold. And if you don't believe me, sit on those aluminum bleachers at a football game on a Friday night and that brisk fall air. What happens to your butt when you're sitting on those aluminum bleachers? All of the heat flows out of your body into those aluminum seats that you're sitting in. So that's what we're dealing with. Heat is going to travel from the hot looking for cold, because that's just the dynamics that we deal with. Now, there's a term that we also use called BTU, a British thermal unit. And this is a way that we measure heat being added or heat being pulled back. And basically what we're saying is that if we take 1 pound of water and we inject 1 degree Fahrenheit, what we have just done is we have injected 1 degree, 1 BTU in that 1 pound of water. Now, if we're dealing with air conditioning and we remove 1 degree, how many BTU did we remove out of that pound of water? It's 1. So with that being said, let's take a look at air conditioners in our world. 1 ton of air conditioning is equivalent to 12,000 BTUs per hour. In other words, if you've got a 1 ton air conditioner working and it runs for 1 hour, it's going to pull 12,000 BTUs of heat out of the air. Now, if you think about what we normally have on these RVs, most of the air conditioners that we deal with are either 13,500, which is going to be equivalent to what? 1 1/8 of tons, 1 1/8 of 1 1/8. I apologize, folks. Something happened to my phone and it's causing some issues, and we're not going to let this happen to us. So 1 1/8 ton. Now, if you've got 15,000 BTU, it's a little bit more. And so if 12,000 equals 1 ton, then what we're looking at 15,000 is 1 1/4. So in our world, we deal with 13,500 and then 15,000. Now, yes, there are some units that are smaller than that, but you'll typically see them on the smaller rigs like the Casitas and the little teardrops. You know, they may be running a 7 or 8, maybe even a 9,000 BTU. But in our big world where you guys are having maybe 2 or 3 or even 4 air conditioners on that roof, just realize when you rate it by the BTU to tell you how many tons of air conditioning you're dealing with. Now let's look at what we're dealing with here with this air conditioner. This is a package unit. Most RV air conditioners are package units. There are a few that what we call basement airs, and they tuck them up underneath the floor, and then they duct air into the compartment, and then they bring the return air into it. By far though, most of the air conditioners that we see in today's RV are sitting on the roof. And so what we're doing is that we're going to return air. We're going to suck air out of the compartment where the humans are. You see where we have the return air? And so this warm air is going to come out of the compartment where the humans are, and we're going to take it into an area that we call the plenum. And the plenum has inside of it a set of coils that look like an automobile radiator coil. It's called the evaporator, and then on the other side of it, you can see the fan motor. It looks like a squirrel cage typically. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the temperature, we're going to take the air that's in there where the human is, we're going to suck it up through the filter, just kind of screen it, get all the trash and debris out so it doesn't clog up our evaporator. Then we're going to take it through the evaporator. It's there where we make the exchange. Warm air comes through on the one side, what comes out on the other side, and people say it's cold. Well, really what it is, it's less hot. And so when it comes out on the back side, then it drops down, and then we stick it in the ductwork, and then we pump it into the coach. So let's take a look at something, because I want us to learn how to measure what's our delta, our temperature difference, because there's some standards, and there should be no reason why you shouldn't be able to check your own air conditioner. All you need is a food grade thermometer, and you can buy them at the big box stores. Go over there where they have the barbecue grills, or go into the grocery stores, or any place that has food grade type thermometers. Now, if you look at the picture on the left-hand side, what we've done is we've taken the thermometer and we have inserted it in the filter. Now, what we're measuring there is the airflow, the air temperature that's flowing through. So typically what we'll do is we'll fire up this air conditioner, get it to running, let it run 15 or 20 minutes to where it's really circulating that refrigerant. Then we put our thermometer in there, and we leave that thermometer in that filter, just sticking up in there. And so the tip of that thermometer is measuring the temperature of the air. And so this will be the warmest air that this air conditioner is going to deal with for the human compartment. So what happens is we measure our intake, or what we call the return air, and we're going to measure there. We take that reading. So let's say that we get a reading of, and I'm going to pull a number out of the air, say 80 degrees, because that's the temperature of the air inside the room. That air is going to travel up, go through the evaporator coils. It's going to exchange the heat, because remember, heat travels to cold, and that refrigerant's running through those coils. It's cold. It makes the transfer. The heat makes its transfer. So what comes out on the other side of those evaporator coils is less hot. And it could be somewhere between, I'm going to say 14 to 20, 22 degrees difference on the left side versus the right side. So what happens is now we're going to take the second measurement and we're going to find one of the diffusers where the ductwork dumps air into the compartment, the one closest to the air conditioner. And so the air coming out of that grill is going to be less hot. So the air coming out of that grill, so maybe it went in at 85 and maybe it comes out, let's say at 65. And so you'll be able to take your two readings because you're going to leave your thermometer in each location 3 to 5 minutes. And you take your readings and you can do your calculations. Hot side on the left, what comes out on the right, subtract the small from the larger number, and that tells you what your delta is. This should be a test that you should be able to take your thermometer, stick it up in there and find out. Now, one of the things I need to make sure that you understand is that if you have more than one air conditioner on your roof, you only want to do the delta on each air conditioner by itself. You don't want to have two air conditioners going or three air conditioners because you might have a weak one that's being covered by a strong air conditioner. And what we want to know is what's each one of these capable of doing. So we should expect to see on a good summer day 14 to 22 degree temperature. Now, there's some variances that we have to look at, and let's go to this next slide. I want to show you something. If we're checking the efficiency, we're looking for somewhere around 14 to 22 degrees. But let's say you're in some place like Florida, where maybe you're down along the coast where there's a lot of humidity. That humidity is going to make that air conditioner work harder. And that's the reason why you see all that condensation, that water running off the roof, because the air conditioner is pulling moisture out of the air and it's dumping it before it can start cooling the air. So you might be in Florida and you might be seeing where there's a lot of high humidity, you may be seeing a 12 to 16 degree instead of the 14 to 20. So what's happening is some of the work is being expended in getting rid of the water. Now, let's say you go to some place where there's kind of desert air and there's not a lot of humidity, you might see a higher delta, but by golly, it might be 115 degrees out there. So keep in mind where you are is going to make a difference of what kind of delta you're going to see out of that air conditioner. Because you could take that same air conditioner, get one reading in Florida, move and go to Arizona, and you might see something different. And it's all based upon the air coming into the filter and the air coming out of the discharge grills. Okay, so this is how we check it, because we do not have the ability to put a set of gauges on it like a refrigeration tech does, because the RV air conditioners do not have service ports for us to hook up to. So this is how we check the efficiency. If you're working as a technician, this is how you check the efficiency. If you're doing an RV inspection, this is one of the procedures that they're required to do for every air conditioner. Find out what the delta is. What's the difference in temperature between what's coming in and what's being discharged? Things that can impact this airflow, air filters. Now, these are pictures that I have taken. I was doing an inspection on a unit and the guy said, I pride myself in taking care of my unit, and I pulled the filters out and I thought, it doesn't have much of a program. But you can't say anything because I was doing the inspection, taking a look at it and doing some things, and I found out real quick that there were some other things that had not been taken care of. But imagine what kind of inefficiency we have because these air filters are choking off the airflow. And so it's kind of like us putting our hand over our mouth or our nose and trying to breathe. We're going to restrict our ability to breathe and to bring air into our lungs. It's the same way with this air conditioner. If it doesn't get good airflow going through, then it cannot get rid of the heat that it's been picking up out of the room where the human is. Now, this happens to be a picture of a unit that I had when I was in Waco at the technical school and we were training. This one, and I took this picture because I had taken the cover off because it wasn't working well. It had been turned in, and a guy gave it to us and said, I don't know what's wrong with it, but maybe your students can work with it. Well, when I took the cover off to where I could get down to the filter and look at it, I could tell this guy was a smoker and there was no air filter. So you can see what kind of air restriction we had on the coils of that air conditioner. And all it took was to take some, you can take some of this, what they call no rinse coil cleaner, spray it on there and it foams up, just kind of like, remember when you used to clean the ovens and you'd spray that spray on the walls of that oven, and it would bubble and everything, and then you go in and you'd wipe it off. Well, you're going to do the same thing here. You spray this no rinse coil cleaner. You can buy it at Home Depot, Lowe's, in the big box stores like that. Spray it on there, and then you come in with some guys will come in with a plastic bristle brush. I've seen people take toothbrushes and just go to raking that stuff out, because many times the dust is collected with grease and other things that are airborne, so it clogs up those filters. Clogs up the coils, because they said, well, I didn't change the filter, so it's not going to hurt. Well, if you don't have a filter collecting it, then it's going to collect on the evaporator coils, and now you got a problem. Somebody's going to have to clean it if it's ever going to be resurrected. You're also going to see a situation we call short cycling. Because remember when we were looking at the air conditioner, let me back up. I want you guys to see a slide. All right. You see here where the red arrow is pointing, you see that dividing line? Where the return area is, that is our return side of the plenum. On the right-hand side, where the less hot air is coming out, that is what we call the discharge side of the evaporator coils. So this partition is there. You see that little black mark that's dividing the left from the right side? That partition is to keep those two chambers apart in the plenum, because that's what they call that area, is the plenum. So what happens is, if something should happen and that little divider is not there, or it's broke down, something's taken place, the less hot air coming out of the coils that's headed to the ductwork is going to be sucked into the return air side. So now we've got cool air or cold air coming out of the evaporator, getting sucked back on the other side. So pretty soon what happens, it begins to short cycle, and it doesn't allow us to cool the compartment where the human is, because we're just going crazy in a spin, moving the air out one side and sucking it back in on the other. It's all because that divider in that plenum is not blocking like it should. So this was actually a brand new unit, and I had told some technicians I was looking to make some pictures, and so they called me and said, Cooper, I got some pictures, why don't you come look at it? So went out there. I was working at that dealership, and so I took these pictures, and you can see that basically at the factory they put this sticky pad on this piece of metal, so that way it wouldn't develop condensation, because it'd be warm on one side, cold on the other, and you'd have condensation on that metal. So they put the sticky pad. Well, they didn't do a very good job of sticking it in there. So now we've got air leaking around where it's all crinkled up and everything. Now the picture on the right-hand side is the back side, and you can see where air is getting sucked back into the air conditioner, causing us all kinds of grief. Now, this short cycling can also have other things that can contribute to it, because that divider, the one picture on the left-hand side shows that divider, and it's not a real good job. You can see it, because what we're looking at is we've taken the filter off and we're looking straight up into the air conditioner, and you can see that foam divider that's there. Now, what I want to show you is on the right-hand side. This is another poor installation. So what we've got, you see where the wood is, and you had the white wire and the black and white wire coming through the plenum, coming into the plenum. Well, those wires, somebody just poked a hole in them, and that's how they're bringing power to the air conditioner, but they didn't seal the holes around those wires. So the filter is going to be on the bottom side of this picture, and the discharge, you can see the green foam there, that little thing for the ductwork. And so up at the top, you see where that little yellow stripe is, that little yellow sticker, cold air is being blown in here. So what we're doing is we're looking straight up into the bottom of this air conditioner with the grill and everything removed. So what's happening in this application, those holes that are there in the plenum going into the attic are actually sucking heat out of the attic. So imagine what that does to your delta. It's bad enough that you're getting warm air out of the compartment where the human is, but add some attic air with it. And so if you only have, let's say, a 14 to 22 degree delta, and you crank up the heat, because the input heat, because you've got hot air coming out of the attic, what did you just do to your ability to cool the coach? Yeah, you have decreased its ability. So we should be sealing those holes, and we see this all the time where they were just kind of cobbed together, or something happened, the sealant that was in there fell out. And so this is one of the maintenance things that I always tell everybody. If you're going to be working with air conditioners, if you're going to be doing tech work, or you're going to be doing maintenance work, these are some things you want to look at. How are they taped off? Do they have all the holes plugged? Any place where we could suck heat into the air conditioner, into the plenum. Now, here's another place, and I had to have this picture, because when I saw this, I thought, I cannot believe this. Cold air is coming in from the top side and it's being pushed down, and then it makes a hard right-hand turn and it goes into the ductwork. Well, someone didn't seal very well around the ductwork, and so what they did is they cut a hole in the rafters to stick the ductwork in there. So just imagine all the cold air that's getting shoved into the attic that's not getting into the ductwork. So all of a sudden now this air conditioner may be a very efficient air conditioner, but because of the poor sealant that's around it, it may impact the efficiency of it. Now, the reason why I have you measure your second measurement for your air temperature is because you want to make sure that you're on the other side of this tape job here, because you want that air to come down to go into the ductwork. If you get a bad delta because you get a bad reading, it means that maybe there's something wrong with the tape job. So the transition piece is not allowing the air to travel from the air conditioner into the ductwork. So it's critical, very critical that we see these things. And that's why I always tell everybody, spring is your make ready, take a look at it. And these are little things that will save the air conditioner and make them much more efficient, is sealing things off, making sure the air is going where it's supposed to go. Now, a lot of people don't always understand how these air conditioners, where they sit and how they sit on these roofs. Now, this particular situation, these folks, they were doing a roof job because they had a soft spot in the ceiling right there by the air conditioner. So what was happening, water was getting in up underneath the rubber roof, and it deteriorated the decking. So they peeled the rubber roof off. They were going to replace it to do a new roof job. And then they pulled off a sheet of plywood, or OSB, as you can see. And that way you can have a really good picture of where the air conditioner sits. See how it sits between the rafters? That's a 14-inch by 14-inch space that the air conditioner sits on. That's the same size hole for a roof vent in the bathroom, or maybe one of those little crank up vents in the bedroom. But what I want you to notice is see the silver ductwork. See how the air is going to blow air down, and some of it's going to go to the left and turn, some of it's going to go to the right and turn. And so this is typically what you see when you peel the roof off and you can look at the ductwork that's there. Now this unit on the right hand side, reason why I have this, I want you to see that this particular application, they're not using rafters. They have what they call a bonded laminated roof. And so what they've got is they've got a ceiling tile, they've got a big block of styrofoam, just like an igloo ice cooler, and then they've got the decking that goes on top, and they bond it together with glue. And then what they do is they router a hole for the ductwork, and you can see where the green ductwork is in there, and that's where the air travels. But here's really crazy things I want you to learn, because this is something you can do yourself. You can change out an air conditioner if you understand how simple it is. You see this one long bolt, there's 4 of those that actually pull that air conditioner down, and the bottom plate here is what we call the squeeze plate. And so if you had to change out an air conditioner, it's not difficult at all. It just needs somebody to show you how it's done. But those 4, there'll be 4 bolts, 1 in each corner. You back those out. You can move that air conditioner, unplug it, because they have what they call a plug and play connection, and put a new air conditioner right back over that hole, and all is good. And so these are things that you and I, if we have a little bit of knowledge, we can do ourselves and never even have any problem, and not have to wait that 6 to 8 weeks to get into a dealership so they can take an hour and a half to put an air conditioner for you. And it takes them usually more time to do it because it takes a while to drag up the tools. They got to deal with brake and all the other. You and I come in, we order the air conditioner, and we get it put in there, and now we got cold again. I want you to see the set of coils on the outside. Now, we've been talking about the evaporator coils. These are the coils that's inside, and this is the only air on the evaporator coils that the consumer's air feels. These coils we're looking at right here are the coils that you and I see when we're standing on the ground outside an RV and we're looking up and we see the air conditioner. And so what we're looking at here is a set of coils that had been involved in a hailstorm. Now, the insurance company offered us $50 to comb those out. And we just had to kind of smile and say, guys, there is absolutely no way we'll ever get those fins combed out to where we can get air, get that air through there so we can take care of that heat and discharge it to the atmosphere. So this is what we call the condenser coils. These are the outside coils, okay? We did tell that insurance guy, said, sorry, can't do it. He said, well, that's all I'm going to pay. And said, well, just leave the claim open, because there will be a supplement filed on this very shortly. And he said, well, what's it going to cost? And at that time, it was $1,200 to put a new air conditioner on. He said, well, how many are there? And I think at that time there was 2 on that RV. And he said, both of them damaged? Yeah. He said, you're telling me I'm going to give you $2,400 to put 2 air conditioners on? I said, yes, sir. And he wrote the check. Wasn't happy about it, but this thing had been involved in a hailstorm. The outside coils are just like the inside coils. They need to be clean. Now, on the left-hand picture, the little red handle device is called a fin comb. And it basically is like a comb that you run through your hair. And what you do, if you have maybe, say you pull down through a residential area and you have a tree branch that scraped alongside and scraped those fins and bent them over, what you've just now done is affected the efficiency of that air conditioner coils. So the compressor's running well, the blower's running well, but we're not getting rid of the heat because the fins are bent and they're blocking the airflow. So many times you just take a little fin comb and you just comb them out. Just be very gentle with them and save the air conditioner. Now the picture in the middle, this is where I had some students. I looked around and we were in lab, and one of them had a shop brush with metal bristles over there combing out an air conditioner. And I just told him, I said, man, if you puncture those tubes, that refrigerant, there's no fixing it. And he just couldn't understand how sharp and pointed those bristles were, but it would puncture those copper tubing where the refrigerant is. So we had a discussion, and hopefully he learned his lesson, but it was kind of like, we can't do this. We got to use either a fin comb or come back with a little bristle brush and kind of comb it out. Now, what you're looking at on the right-hand picture is where we're using some of the no rinse foaming coil cleaner. Like I say, you can buy that at the big box stores, but you want the no rinse. So what happens is that when you start operating the air conditioner again, the condensation runs down these coils and basically rinses it off for you. Let's see here, okay? On the air conditioners, every air conditioner needs to have at least 4 ducts open, the diffusers open, a minimum of 4. And we always tell them, say, a minimum of 4, maximum of 8. Because you have too much, you don't get enough airflow coming out the ductwork for the human to feel the comfort of it. But if you have too few, you're not letting enough air come out and getting it back to the air conditioner so it can get rid of that heat, go through the air conditioner again, get some more cold, dump that in the compartment. And so anytime we shut off those vents, we are restricting the airflow, which is going to affect the efficiency of that air conditioner, because it's not going to be able to get the airflow into the room so it can get it out of the room and pull the heat out of that air. Another thing we run into is the fans. A lot of people like to run their fans on low cool. In other words, you know, you can run an air conditioner fan on low fan, which means it's just going to be blowing air, or you can run low cool. Cool means you're going to run the compressor. But here's the thing, when you run it on low fan speed, it doesn't move enough air across the coils to keep the airflow going through there. So then what happens is those coils begin to freeze up. And when they freeze up, they really then block the airflow. So then what you got to do is you either got to wait for that thing to thaw out, or you got to take a hairdryer and crawl up there and blow those and melt that ice that's on those evaporator coils, because that's what will happen if we run these units on low speed. Now, the low speed was put in there particularly for spring and fall, when you don't need the compressor, you just need airflow coming through the air conditioner and through the ductwork. Now, there's another device called a freeze control switch. Now, this is on the evaporator coils. Each one of these pictures shows a different type of freeze control switch. What had happened was the manufacturers kept having all these people turning these air conditioners in for warranty that they had burned up the compressor. And so they got to looking, and what had happened is that these people were running these air conditioners on low fan speed, and maybe they weren't cleaning their filters, so they were actually restricting the airflow across the coils. Well, that compressor is pounding away, going to try to make this thing happen, try to get things going, but there's no airflow across those coils because they've iced over, or they're not getting an airflow because of the filters are clogged. So what the manufacturers did is they put a freeze control, and basically all they're doing is putting a little sensor in the fins measuring for ice. When they begin to start getting ice, then what happens is that ice that little sensor senses that ice, and it reaches over and turns off the compressor, tells the fan to keep going, but it turns off the compressor, so we're not moving refrigerant. And in a short period of time, the fan keeps running just like you'd had a hair dryer up there, and pretty soon you thaw that ice out, and then the freeze control senses that the ice is gone, and now it turns on the compressor for you. But that freeze control switch, if it falls out of those fins or it comes loose, like see that little disc in the bottom right-hand picture, if that little clip-on disc comes loose off of that coil, then what happens is it's dangling down below. And so even though the air conditioner now begins to start freezing up, but because the sensor is not measuring the temperature of those coils, it's going to allow it to freeze up. And so we're over here trying to figure out, okay, what I know this thing's got a freeze control, but if the freeze control falls out of position, then it tells that air conditioner, hey, you just keep going, everything's going fine. When it may not be. It may not be. So when you're up there looking at it, just to make sure that that freeze control switch is in there. And this is something that we talk about in the classes because it's important that we walk you through, have air conditioners that you can put your hands on and say, okay, here's where the freeze control switch goes, and this is where the filter goes, and all the other things, because it's important that we understand our equipment and how it works. Now, this thing we call low refrigerant. I remember I was doing service calls. I'd left the school and I was in business for myself and I was running service calls and got a call from a lady and she said, you know, is this mobile RV service? And I said, yes, ma'am. She said, I need you to come out here and put some Freon in my air conditioner. And I said, well, ma'am, typically we don't because the air conditioners don't have a set of coils on. They don't have a set of places where we can hook the gauges up to. She said, well, I had a guy out here 2 weeks ago. He put me refrigerant in here and it got cold. But it's changed now. It's not cold anymore. So I need some more refrigerant. And so I asked her, I said, well, ma'am, we normally do not put refrigerant in these air conditioners because they don't have the service valves. She said, well, he did. I said, well, what did he charge you for that? She said, $200. I said, how long ago was that? She said, 2 weeks. I need somebody else to come out and do it. I said, ma'am, what we really need to do is put you new air conditioners. Something's going on that refrigerant is leaking out. And she said, oh, I've already spent $200. I don't want to spend another $200. I need somebody to come out here and fix this. Well, unfortunately, that's not the way that we can do things with the RV air conditioners. Because the last thing these manufacturers want us to do is getting up on the roofs with a torch, trying to find that leak and seal it, because many times it's a crack from stress or any number of things. So typically what we tell everybody, if that refrigerant leaks out, you have little success in getting it back in there. So the best thing to do is purchase a new air conditioner. And so we would show them what was going on. A lot of times you go up to that air conditioner, you take the cover off and you could see an oil spot. So that told you right there in that area where that air leak was, or that gas leak was. But here's the thing. Okay, so you put refrigerant back in there, but because there's no oil pan for this air conditioner, this oil travels through with the refrigerant. So it travels through the compressor, it travels through the coils, comes back to the compressor and does its job all over again. Well, if that refrigerant leaks out, it takes its oil with it. And when it does that, you may be having problems a little later, well, because there's no refrigerant in there. And besides, if you've lost the refrigerant, losing the oil means now you've got a compressor that is running without any oil. And we know what happens to metal against metal grinding of these cylinders and these pistons. Some other things that will have a major impact on our air conditioner is the voltage. Both Atwood and Dometic say their sweet spot for the voltage that they like to have is 115 volts. So there is a range that they say it's safe to operate 109 to 121. And you start getting outside of those boundaries, now you start getting into danger. And so if the voltage drops, what happens is we begin to start heating up that compressor and burning up the windings that are inside. So we're always looking for good voltage. So let's say you're at a 4th of July and you're at a park and you happen to be the very last person in line and your voltage is coming at you and say it's 95 volts. What's going to happen to your air conditioner if you got that low voltage? Yep, it's going to burn that compressor up. And so $1,200, you're putting a new one in. Some other things dealing with voltage, it can be voltage killers. And I really want to focus on the connections, but also the reducers and adapters, where you take a plug, and many of you got these when you bought a new RV. You take that reducer and you plug it into a wall receptacle, then you adapt to the power cord that's in the RV. Only thing is, the wall receptacle doesn't give you enough power to run the air conditioner. Now, it may run some lights inside the coach and things like that, but it doesn't have the strength, it doesn't have the power to run the compressor and the fan motor in the middle of the summer, all the power that you're needing, and run it through this little adapter. So these little adapters, what they'll do is they'll start melting and burning the power cords, and next thing you know, you're burning the windings of the air conditioner compressor, which is, $1,200 later. So how do we learn about things? How do we learn about these RVs? Because I know this is a whole new world for many of you. Many of you have gone through this COVID-19 and has just turned your life upside down. I mean, I was talking to some folks today that they were telling me that they had just gotten laid off, and we were told we were going to be furloughed. Now we've been notified we have been laid off and there is no job for us. So they were talking to me about going to school. What can I do? How can I educate myself? I don't want to be dependent on somebody else. I want to take care of myself and my family. Besides, I want to travel. Well, let me show you some ways that you can do it, okay? Now, when you get ready to do and buy your RV, whether new or used, get a good walkthrough, get somebody to show you, but use your finger because that's your number one tool. Let your finger do the touching of the buttons, run the slides out, bring things in, because the more we touch, the more we play with, the better we are, because we remember when that person that's walking through with us, we remember how things work. So I'm going to encourage you to take a serious look. If you haven't already gotten some education, spend some time. It'll be some of the best money you'll spend, because if you're going to invest in yourself. So that way you don't have to get hung up like happened in that last job where you were let go and now you're over here trying to figure out, how am I going to make this work? Because I'm going to just tell you, folks, there is a major shortage of RV technicians across the North American continent. Colorado, California, Texas, Florida, Arizona. I mean, those are the big states, but there is a shortage of techs everywhere, including Canada. So there's opportunities for you if you want to educate yourself, because it's there, it's hands-on, and you learn so that way you can apply it in your life. Now, the pathway that we call to success is called our training triad. And so when we designed this program, this RV maintenance program that was going to give you the core knowledge that you need, we had a lot of people come to us and say, look, I really don't want to be a technician, don't want to be an inspector. I just want to know how my unit works, because when I take it in to get it worked on, I want to be able to communicate with that technician and understand what he's saying. And I'm not trying to speak Greek to me, but I need to have a better understanding. So we have those people come to us. We'll have other people come back and say, look, I want to start a mobile service. I want to start a mobile RV technician program. And you say, okay, what are you going to do? Well, I just want to be a mobile tech. You can specialize. There are some people out there, all they do is work on air conditioners or refrigerators, furnaces, water heaters. Other guys say, oh, no, I want to change out windows. I want to work on roofs. I want to do the carpentry kind of stuff. So there's something for everybody. But long and short of it, whatever your skill set is and whatever really makes you hum, that's what you need to be doing, whether it's technical or working as a mobile tech, or just learn how your unit works, or maybe even have your own RV inspection business. Did you know that that there are people out there that do home inspections for RVs? And guys, we've got a major shortage there too. What we need is about 1,800 across the country, and right now we're not there. So there's plenty of opportunity. Now, this is a picture of the training center that we have here in Athens, Texas. This is one of the classrooms. We have 3 big classrooms that are 30 by 30, training going on. I learned when I was at the college that when people want to come in and take tours, it sure is nice to have windows that you can peek through and not have to interrupt the instructor and the students. So you'll notice there's 2 big windows in the back, and they're there to help people observe and to look through and observe a class to see if that's something they'd like to do. Then, of course, you see over here in this next picture where we've got all these RVs, because right now we have a fleet of 8 RVs that we pull in at various times. We use them in our inspection process. We use them as a technician because we want to make sure that people get the hands-on piece to go with what they're wanting to learn. And so the best thing to do is to put equipment in front of them and let them play with it and work with it, so that way they make sure they know what they're doing. Now, this next slide here that you're looking at is Howard. You see the center picture is Howard and Pam. And so what they're doing right here is they've taken the advanced inspectors. In other words, they finished their first week learning of the basic RV maintenance, how things work. And then if they want to go on and become an inspector, then they can take what we call a level 2, the advanced inspector course. And what Howard is, he's up on top of the roof, and you can see everybody on the catwalk. They're looking over, but he also has a GoPro camera, so he's actually going to start showing them things up close on that television screen. You see that right-hand picture? That's a big screen hanging from the ceiling, and he's shooting a signal up to that television so they can see up close in detail what he's talking about, and they can understand better, so that way when they see certain things, they know, okay, I already know what that is. I understand how to fix that, or I know how to write that up. We also have hands-on live classes out in the service bay. Sometimes the classrooms just get too small, and we've got a big class and we have no choice, but we have to go outside in the service bay. It is air conditioned, and what you're looking at here are 2 frames. One towards you, and that's the fifth wheel frame that a company called Lippert. They build probably 85–90% of the frames and hitch systems for RVs right now. And so they sent us these 2 units. So they got the fifth wheel here, and then in the very back alongside where that plywood wall is, there is a travel trailer. Because like they said, there's only going to be 2 places in the country that we can do this kind of training, the hands-on, showing how to put leveling systems in, how to make them, get them to work and things like that, and troubleshoot them. And he said, there's only going to be 2 schools in the United States. One is going to be in Elkhart, Indiana. And he said, you know what happens in the wintertime? But he said, we need to be able to have a warm climate, so that way we can come down and do training there as well. So we actually have worked a deal with Lippert. They provide a lot of the equipment that we use for our other classes. And so that way people can get their hands on and experience it. It's just not reading a text manual, okay? Well, what if you can't make that live course? And we've had some of the people say that. Well, that's okay. We've got you covered. It's not a big deal. We have what we call the home study option. And so what we do, or what we have done, is we took a 1 year and we recorded every class that we did on RV maintenance. Then we went in and kind of took the best of the best, put them on a thumb drive, and we put the booklets, the same booklets that you would have if you were in class with us. And you take the booklets and you follow along with us, and you by plugging in the flash drive, and you listen. And so what we've done is we've broken the material. That's about 30 hours of material. We've broken up into segments, usually nothing more than 15–16 minutes, more like 5 to 8 is usually what it is. But what we do is we take you through these booklets, and so that way then you can say, okay, I understand what's going on here, and I can go do this on my own. And then what we tell you is, take this home study. You can either get the flash drive, or you can order the version that you download if you've got good internet connection. But the thing about it is that you get this material so you can learn at your own pace. Now, we also have put in there a coupon inside that training box that we ship to you in priority mail, or if you take the online course, the same class as what the people are taking with the thumb drive. Either one of those, you will be able to go through those, and you can see how they're broken down into segments so you can watch it. But we're also going to put a coupon in there worth $300. So that way you can take that coupon, and we're going to encourage you to come to Athens. So you can, if you couldn't come because maybe you couldn't get off or something like that, hang on to that coupon. It's good for 2 years. And so you can come back and take this you can take this RV maintenance course all over again. And here's the cool thing about it. Once you come and take this class with us, you also get a 1-year do-over. So in other words, you could very well take the home study course, take that course, take your coupon and turn it in, say, I want to apply my $300 to the RV maintenance course. I didn't quite get everything, or I want to just refresh myself before I move on to the advanced classes. So what we do is we take your coupon, apply it to the course, and then you go away and you're out doing things. You have 1 year to come back to us and get retrained. What we find is that many times we think we understand how it works, but until we get out there and start really working with it, it doesn't make sense to us. And if we can get our hands on it, it makes a world of difference how things work. It makes a world of difference if you understand how things are going. And then that way you eliminate the fear, because that's the big thing is people have fear because they don't know how things work. And that's what we want to do, is to give you the opportunity to learn so you can take care of yourself and those around you. Pay it forward to help others. Maybe develop a business on the side. Now, these are the instructors that we have here. This gentleman in the black shirt, his name is Todd Henson. He and we typically will teach the RV maintenance classes. The gentleman with the green shirt, he teaches generator. We're bringing him on board because he's probably one of the best generator guys I have ever met. And his tag name is the Generator Guru. Well, I've seen him at work, and I have to say he is a guru. I really can. Uh, I'm just, I was amazed at him, and I met him a long, long time ago, and he kept telling me, he said, Cooper, when you guys get your school ready and you need a generator tech, you call me. Well, I reached out to him. He said, well, when can I be there? Because this guy's got a ton of knowledge. Now, the gentleman in the center here with the red shirt on, that's Leon Booth. Leon Booth teaches the advanced classes for air conditioners, refrigerators, and furnaces, water heaters. That's his expertise. Now, Leon runs a mobile service out in West Texas, and so he'll come and spend time with us, going through the classes, getting things ready for other students. But he's very, very sharp. And the reason why I like him, Leon, on board with us is because of all the field knowledge he has. He's got good diagnostic skills, but he also has all this field experience that he brings with him when he comes to school. Because I love to listen to him describe things going on that he's seeing out in the field, and it's not the kind of stuff you'd read in any book. So, but a lot of this stuff is just everyday stuff for you. Now, of course, you see me on the far right and the couple in between us, that's Howard and Pam. They are the advanced instructors for the inspectors. But long and short of it, they do that piece of it. Those are the folks that you saw in the picture a while ago that had the people up on the balcony working around, and he was coaching them using the GoPro, showing them what needed to be done and how to write it up on their inspection report and things like that. So if you're ready for a fresh start, if you really want to try to help others, and you really get a lot of joy out of being nice to people and helping people, here's a chance for you to do that. You can also become a National RV Training Academy certified RV technician. You could be a National RV Inspectors Association certified RV inspection. So what happens is that if you take a look at things like this, whether you want to get the certified RV technician or the certified RV inspector, here's a way for you to make money on the road. Or if you're going to be staying where you are in your brick and stick house, maybe stay with that job or whatever, here's an opportunity for you to have what we call a side hustle, a little something going on. And I've done this for many, many years. Many times I'd make more money working on the Fridays and Saturdays doing work off the side than I did teaching at that college. It's a shame the college don't pay better, but I'm telling you, many, many times it took things like that to keep the ends of the budget tied together. So here's an opportunity for you. If you want to travel, here's a chance for you to start a business so you can do this yourself. So keep this in mind. There's opportunity out there, and you always want to go to where there's a need. And right now in the industry, there is a major need for RV technicians, and there's a major need for someone to do inspections on RVs. So here's opportunity for you. All you have to do is step up, say, I want to be a part of that. Mr. Anderson.
All right, Mr. Cooper, you have given a lot of phenomenal information, and we have some questions popping in here. And I'm just going to start right from the top. And the very first one came in from a gentleman by the name of Glenn. And Glenn says, are you going to discuss capacitors, run and start capacitors? And then he has comma C/Herm/fan, etc.
Huh, he has a little background. All right. Reason why we don't cover in something like this is I want to give you guys an overview. But when you come to the classes, yes, most definitely, because you need to understand how these air conditioners work. And like you said, we'll show you the start capacitors, the run capacitors. And for those of you that don't know what a capacitor is, it's an electronic device that we charge up, and it kickstarts the fan motor or kickstarts the compressor. Now, what he was talking about, the HERM, that's hermetically sealed compressors. So on these air conditioners that we have, there's a little motor inside of a case, and that motor has a refrigerant pump hooked to the end of it. But all of it's sealed inside that case so we can keep the gases in there. So when you come and you spend time with us, or you take the home study option, we go over that. We talk about it. We'll show you what the capacitors look like. Those of you who want to move on into the advanced technician classes, we'll even do more than that. You'll be taking those things apart, putting them back together. Leon will put bugs in them, so that way you can learn how to troubleshoot, find those bad capacitors, replace them, and get things going again. Very good. He's got some good knowledge.
Okay. All right. Lindy has a technical question. As I read this, as I can tell folks, I've spent enough time with you, Mr. Cooper. I've not become a technician or an inspector or any of that, but a lot of these things, when I read them, says, I have a pretty good idea what's going on there, but I'm not going to give the advice. Let's hear it from the pro. Our AC cools for about 10 to 15 minutes. Then the fan quits blowing and no air comes out, or out of the vents, excuse me. The AC hums but doesn't cool.
Have you had a chance to pull the filter and look at the evaporator coils to see if they're iced over? Because that's what it sounds like, is that the moisture that's being pulled out of the air is running down those coils. And if the air is coming through there, some reason or another, it's like we said, we have an airflow problem, then what happens is that refrigerant starts freezing that water, turning it into ice. Then pretty soon what happens is we have a sheet of ice over those fins, kind of like a Walmart shopping bag over an automobile radiator. It's going to block the airflow. That's kind of one of those situations that we have to look at and say, okay, are the coils frozen up? I think, Lynn, I was going to ask you, didn't we communicate via text message here the other day? And if so, what did you find when you looked up under your coils?
Yeah, this is Lindy McDaniel.
Okay, because I had someone tell me that they were going to be in on today's seminar, but they were having problems with the air conditioners wasn't cooling, and it sounded like the coils had frozen up. And so we talked a little bit, and I hadn't heard anything back. So I wonder if that was this, if it was Lindy here.
Says it was not her.
Ah, okay. Well, sorry.
This is another one.
All right, but if you'll pull where the air filter is and look up in there, and you can look to see if there's ice built up onto those coils. And because remember now, it could be because it's got a poor tape job, and so air cycling back on itself, or maybe the freeze control, that little probe, that sensor probe that turns off the compressor, maybe it's fallen out and it's not telling the compressor to turn off. Or maybe the filters are dirty. I think you will find whatever it is going to be a simple fix, but most likely it's going to be dealing with airflow. Airflow, airflow, airflow.
Yep, and as we have seen through the years, Mr. Cooper, doesn't make any difference whether the unit's 10 years old or brand new, that airflow aspect, because we've run into brand new units that they didn't do the taping, they didn't hook up the ducts, number of things.
Yeah. We had units that we were working with FEMA on, and these units had just come straight from the factory. And they turned on the air conditioner, they started freezing up. The technicians that we had there pulled the filters out and said, there it is, poor tape job. That air is cycling back on itself, so that cold air is not coming out the duct. It's getting sucked back into the warm side of the coils. Yeah. And so things were freezing up in there. Taped it up, sealed it up, everything worked fine.
All right, Deanna is asking a question, says, I understand the basic week 1 is Monday through Friday. She's talking about the course that takes place at the National RV Training Academy there at the Big Red Schoolhouse. Mm-hmm. But is the registered tech test given at that time, or is it on Saturday? And she says a little bit more here. Coming for the basic class, how many days overall should I plan to be there?
Okay, you're right. The basic RV maintenance course is going to be 5 days. It's Monday through Friday. Then what we do is on Saturday, we'll come in and we will have a prep class. What I find, most people are not good test takers. And so what we're going to do is we're going to coach you and go back over some of the material that you have learned that week and refresh your memory and say, okay, now don't forget, this is what propane, this is boiling temperature of propane. This is what, goes on with the refrigerant. This is what's happening here. And then on Saturday, Monday through Friday, then Saturday the prep, and then Sunday what we do is we have a test exam day. It's just a written exam for the certified. So if you would, plan on coming to us and spending at least 6, preferably 7 days with us, so that way we can get you certified as an RV tech. That's a good question.
Right. Okay. Okay, I'm not exactly sure. A gentleman by the name of Don threw this in here. Says there's a per season RV, might be typos, not too sure what he's trying to tell me there, that says the AC units don't operate below 40 degrees. Comments?
He's right. There is a range. And not only do the air conditioners not operate below that point, but the same thing with heat pumps. Because a heat pump is really nothing more than an air conditioner that they have changed the direction of the flow of the refrigerant. So what we're doing is we're sucking heat out of the air, and we'll compress it, and we'll try to dump that heat inside the compartment where the consumer is. So what happens is below that 40 degrees, and he's right on the money, that outside temperature for that heat pump, there's not enough heat out there to dump it into the compartment. Well, now let's flip it back the other way. If we're dealing with an air conditioner, if the outside temperature is colder than what the inside temperature is, you're not going to get the flow. Because we got to move heat from one place to another. So he's right on the money. You start getting below 40 degrees and things these air conditioners are not built to handle those kind of temperatures. He's right on the money.
All right. So Deanna's got one more question. Says, also the first week basic tech class, is one eligible to take the test for the level 1 inspector, or is there another week dedicated to become an inspector?
Okay, when you come out of the very first week, you will have your level 1 inspector. That's when you finish on that Friday afternoon, you will have your level 1, because what will happen is the thing that the NRVIA, the National RV Inspectors Association, requires of you is that you take the RV maintenance program, which you will have done Monday through Friday, and then they're going to give you sometime during that week, they're going to have you go online and take the Code of Ethics and their Standards of Practice exam. You get those two online. They're going to give you a link to go to, a password. And then what will happen is on that Friday afternoon, you will take your final exam for your RV maintenance. Those Code of Ethics, Standard of Practice, and that Friday exam will get you your National RV Inspectors Association certification for level 1. For those of you that want to also go a step further and become an RV technician, it's for you. You already have all the knowledge. You went Monday through Friday, and so then you stay with us on that Saturday and do the prep, and on Sunday take the certified RV technician exam. So what happens is when you leave here on that very first week, you will have 2 sets of credentials if you have passed those tests. One is the NRVIA certified level 1 inspector. 2, you will have the National RV Training Academy certified registered technician. Okay, so you'll have both of those. And the reason why we recommend that you have that kind of stuff is that a lot of times in the very beginning, when we first started working in this business, we'd have people go out and we'd do inspections, or I had even gone out and done inspection. They said, well, you're just an inspector. You don't understand how RVs work. And I get to talking to them, so I'm a master certified technician, but also do inspections. And we've had some of our inspectors go out there and they get to talking to this technician at this dealership or this mobile tech, and they find out they know like nothing. They know very little. Matter of fact, after spending a week, you know more knowledge than most individuals do, most technicians at the dealerships. And so to go in there with credentials, you have a pedigree, you've got your registered RV technician, and you have your certified RV inspector. So now you've got some credentials. Say, yes, I know what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to make a big deal of this, but I'm just telling you, I've taken the time to learn things. And we had a lady come through the program, it's been 2 or 3 years ago, And her husband didn't really want to come. She said, I'm the mechanical one in the family. So she came through the RV maintenance course, and she left us, and she said, that's all I want. I've got what I needed. You know, I don't want any certifications. I don't see myself being an inspector. I don't see myself being a technician. She wrote us back a little later. She said, today was a great day for me. She said, I took my son to buy an RV. And she said, this salesman began to start saying things. And she said, in a very polite way, I had to correct him because he was saying things that, no, that's not correct. And he said, finally, he pulled her aside and said, ma'am, where did you get this information? Why is it you know these things? Most people that come to me do not know what you know. She said, I took the time to learn. It's important to me that I understand what's going on. And evidently, you know, she was must have been a very diplomatic lady. She didn't rub his nose in it, but basically just said, I know what I'm talking about, and that is incorrect. So, I have her picture, and every now and then I look at her, and when I'm going through some of the graduates, and I'll smile because I'm thinking, there's a lady right there that knew what she wanted, and it made a world of difference for her because she took the time to learn so she could be where she needed to be and not have to be at somebody else's mercy, maybe somebody telling them something that's not true.
All right, Mr. Cooper, all the technical things I think you've hit on. I just wanted to share some of the kudos that have come along. And Deanna, who has asked these questions to you, wanted to make sure that she said, awesome, thank you. She's working through the home study right now, and she's working
Oh,
it
good.
out so that she can make it to one of the full-time, or to the live classes rather, in Athens coming up. Then
Good.
here's a name from our past, Marcia Clark.
Oh, Marcia.
She says, thanks for doing this class. Remember me? I took the class in Eustis, Florida in 2013.
Wow.
That's a couple miles back, isn't it?
I don't think we
Learned
had any
so
wrinkles in our face at that time.
I learned so much, but hope to join you in Texas to learn even more. You guys have come a long way. Keep up the great work. Thanks, Marcia. We appreciate that.
Yeah, we do.
And one last kudo is from really some great friends that they have been with us now for a number of years, following our training, taking our training, and developing their own business and that type of thing. That's Don and Pat Hall. Say, awesome job, Mr. Cooper. As always, they're up in, I think it's New Hampshire right now is where they're hanging out for the summer.
Hopefully it's cooler there than it is here.
Yeah, I bet it is. I bet it is. All right, well, that's it. That's on the list right now. Any last call for questions? Now's the time to pop them in there. We'll be glad to field those. We've been at this just right out about an hour, and we try to respect your time when we tell you that it's going to be roughly an hour. And nothing's popping in, Mr. Cooper, so if you wanted to have some closing comments, that would be a good time to do it right now.
You know, folks, if you're serious about doing something, sometimes now is the time. You know, now's the time. And make that fear go away. And the only way to do that is have knowledge. Because if you have the knowledge, you can step in and say, I can handle this problem. I know what's going on. This may also be an opportunity for you to start a new career, a fresh start. Because this afternoon, I was visiting with 3 different couples that came in, and every single one of them was talking about how they'd been furloughed and then they were told they would no longer have a job. And so we're seeing a lot of this. And so you don't have to lose your independence. As a matter of fact, you gain it when you have new knowledge. And that's what I want to encourage you. So come see us. We'll give you everything we've got. We'll spend time with you. We'll help you develop the credentials so that way you can be successful. So we can see you guys later.
All right, well, while you were sharing, a couple more things came in from Bill. Bill says, and I can answer this one for you, Mr. Cooper. Are there any RV parks for students to stay in Athens? I laugh at that, Bill, because Mr. Cooper, about 3 years ago, next month, as a matter of fact, talked Mr. Anderson and his bride into buying a RV park with him and his bride. So we actually purchased the Texan RV park in Athens, Texas. We purchased it because it had a great footprint to do what we wanted to do, and that was to build the training facility for the National RV Training Academy. So that's a long answer, Bill. Yes, you can stay right on property. We have great campsites. We have pull-throughs as well as back ends. We have great Wi-Fi and all that good stuff, so you can stay right there on property. You can walk back and forth to work or ride your, or excuse me, to school or ride your bicycle, whatever you'd like
Mhm.
to do.
And if you have
And so,
to, you don't have a place, you don't have an RV, well, that's okay. We have some cabins. We also have some rental RVs as well. So don't let that slow you down, folks.
yeah. All right. Don and Pat did mention after your comment about New Hampshire says it is a little bit cooler, but not much cooler.
Oh dear.
So, yep, that happens. And let's see, John popped a question in here. Let's see if I can read it correctly here. Advanced classes offered online, then come to the school for a week to review each classes. Plans, please.
At this stage of the game, we do not offer the advanced classes online. Because of COVID-19, we have done some things with the hybrid training, and we've seen it will work. So we'll be getting back with you guys, offering some online stuff. But let me just say, what we find by far, most people in North America learn with their hands, and they remember things better when they put their hands on it. So I'm a big proponent of saying, hey, you know, get this knowledge, but come put your hands on it so that way you know that you have it. So we will be doing it online eventually, but at this stage of the game, we're going to have to say, hey, we're still going to stay the course and do as much hands-on as possible.
All right, Mr. Cooper, Don and Pat popped in one last comment, and we'll close with this. And they said, we were talking about the Texan RV park, and they said, God moments, opportunities are endless.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Thanks, you guys, for sharing. Well, Mr. Cooper, phenomenal job as usual. And you know, I've had a lot of people say they're really enjoying this From the Horse's Mouth series. And we're going to continue. In fact, we have another one that you'll see information coming up scheduled for, I believe it's the 11th of July. And that one is going to be on propane. And Mr. Cooper came up with the title, Not Just Another Pretty Flame. And I thought that's a lot of fun, a lot of fun. So you'll be seeing some information about how to sign up for that and all that good stuff coming up soon. So with that said, we will close her up. And Mr. Cooper, I want to thank you for joining and being with us
My
and making
pleasure.
this presentation. And any last words? I know you already had kind of your last
No,
comments, but give you a
we're in
shot.
good shape.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a phenomenal Father's Day weekend, and we appreciate you being with us. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.